What's up, people? Welcome to the Health is Wealth podcast. Today's episode is the only piece of equipment you'll need. What's up, people? Welcome to the Health is Wealth podcast. I'm your host, Jason Shibley, and Bobby Jackson, co-host, is with us today with a special episode that he's brought up to me.
Back here on the show, and we have a super secret topic today. This one's pretty deep.
Yep.
This one's very highly debated, but we finally have the 100% proven science behind the only piece of equipment you ever are going to need again. And that is dumbbells, a bench, the barbell, cable machine, the mat for the floor, doing sit-ups and stuff. Let's see, pull-up bar, weight plates, a couple kettlebells, some band loops. Basically, it's every piece of equipment that doesn't hurt you, cause further damage to your body, and allows you to still make progress, right? So everybody tries to funnel into, oh my God, what's a special magical piece that's going to help me achieve everything I need? The only way you're going to do that is if you work well-roundedly. You got to use that broad range of equipment. Of course, there's always pieces out there or certain exercises that are going to put us into, risk for injury or maybe re-injury. Avoid those. But beyond that, don't just be one of those people that forces themselves to only use dumbbells or, oh man, I only use cables. Well, you're going to be limited because those are very different types of equipment. So we got to make our way around the gym and try a lot of different things here.
Yeah, don't only use the yoga mat, don't only use the ankle weights, don't only use the cable machine, don't only do outside workouts, don't only swim, don't only use your running shoes, don't only do that stuff.
Don't limit yourself. Stop listening to these people that are trying to sell you. Of course, if they're selling the piece of equipment, that makes it pretty easy to see through, but there's no one magical thing. It's work your body just as well-roundedly as you're working around the gym. Upper body, lower body, the whole 9 yards.
And variety is king, right? Variety is king.
That's the best part. We're tired of seeing lopsided, goofy-looking people out there that only want to work the beach muscles and they get the huge upper body built up. People that think they just need to have huge legs and they got the buttery midsection. We got to get that whole body dialed in, especially if we know that we have muscular imbalances to start with, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. You only need everything out there.
You only need a little bit of everything. That's the only way you're going to do it. And that's the same with just our activity level too, right? It's not the gym specific lesson, right? If we're working outside of the gym for just general exercise, yeah, biking is great. Yeah, running is great. But if we can do a combination of a bunch of different things, that's going to be even better. And so don't be that one trick pony that just sticks with the things they like to do or things that they are most familiar with. Go out there, try to learn some new things and watch how fast it's going to help you see extra progress.
Yeah, and that's the amazing thing is the more you do, the more that body adjusts and the more mobility you have throughout your life. And both of us have trained athletes in our past, and when you're in an athletic position, you only using one piece of equipment because you're in a specific goal in a short period of time. Just like your strength camps that you do with all your fighters for 8 weeks to get them ready. But after that fight, when they're down for a month or so, your variety is the key. Lots of different equipment. You got them doing a bunch of different stuff to prevent injuries.
Yeah, that really comes in. First of all, we got to evaluate as the athlete comes in what the dominant movement patterns are going to be for their sport, right? So we work with a lot of combat athletes, a lot of punching, a lot of kicking, right? So that punch is throwing that hand out in front of you. That's activating muscles on the front of the shoulder, the chest, a little bit of back of the arm for the extension of the tricep. Okay, that's great. They're working plenty of that. A lot of times it's not about trying to make that stronger because that's already overly dominant and we see that little shoulder roll forward. I got to work on things on the back of the body, right? So that's the perfect example of it's not just about continuing to push harder with the muscles they're already using all the time. Their backs are probably weak. Behind the shoulders weak, right? There's all the things that are required to pull that we might need to start making as primary movements moving forward in their strength and conditioning.
And that brings up why we use each specific piece of equipment every day.
Exactly. And it's not about just touching as many pieces of equipment as possible, right? You brought up when we were doing the notes for the show, it's about understanding the best benefits of each part of the whole gym right there, right? So cables have their use, the dumbbells have their use, the body weight, the floor exercises, functional pieces of equipment, those are all things. They all have their area that they do the best at, whether it's incorporating balance, multiple joints, multiple muscle groups, isolating things out. They all have their part, and it's making sure that you truly understand each part and you can apply it in the best way to get the best result out of it.
Yeah, and that goes into our second part of this conversation is why we use those pieces of equipment. Specifically, why? Why are we using a Bosu ball, the half moon ball that people are using? It's strictly to add more balance and engage our core in different ways, whether we're standing on the ball, whether we're doing planks on the ball, whether we're doing agility speed drills on the ball. It's all a balance aspect of things, right?
So that's going to tell me I'm not going to use that to specifically gain strength in any muscle groups, right? Because we're already adding that instability. Immediately, it's going to be more challenging to use less weight on an exercise. Whatever we're doing while we're on a Bosu ball is going to be a lot lighter than average.
Yeah.
So that's that application. That's tying in core, big time, multiple muscle groups, the whole 9 yards with that. That's not going to be the best to gain specifically strength, where we're going to want to limit how much balance we need to apply and be able to really just push, pull, or squat against a big amount of weight.
And that's the same thing. Why do we use dumbbells and bars? Why do we use the dumbbells and bars? For strength. It's for strength. We're not doing cardio workouts typically, and typically when I say cardio endurance is over a minute of activity. So we're doing that for strength purposes. We're building up strength some way, somehow, with whatever body part that we're trying to break down. You need to know why we're doing that. That's strength. If you got a dumbbell in your hand, there's strength involved.
And let it be a piece. We all need the strength training, right? We don't all need to lift the same amount of weight, but we all need to challenge ourselves with that weight, that benefit, that undeniable result of increase in bone density, increase in lean muscle mass. There's no doubt that that strength training is king. And so we all need that as a component of our workouts. And that's why we got to use those dumbbells. We got to use all those types of free weights, getting into that heavier rep range right there.
And then just like another piece of equipment, the one piece of equipment you need to use, a yoga mat.
The yoga mat. That's huge.
Flexibility is obviously a key opponent to the yoga mat. You're not doing strength training on a yoga mat. You're not working a lot of balance on the yoga mat. You're working flexibility. That's why you're doing it. That's why that piece of equipment is so important for you for that flexibility moment.
And that should be an important component of all of our routines, right? Flexibility and mobility, especially every year. I'm getting older, even though I feel like I'm aging backwards over here.
Yeah, we're 47.
Don't look a day over 50. But that's the importance of that, is that that's a longevity thing. That's a life quality enhancing type of an effect of better balance, better stability, better mobility, just walking through the grocery store, that's pumping gas, that's walking to the restaurant, whatever it might be. Those are things being used.
Yeah, we have another episode that we break down equipments that we don't like and do like. But
that's a pretty good episode, by the way.
That was a good one. It's one of our most popular ones too, because we're talking a lot of smack.
Yeah.
But it makes me think of why people use the low back machine. It's a piece of shit. Okay, and I'm not trying to be
good.
nice here.
But that's about as nice as you can say that one.
But it's a piece of crap equipment. Why are you using that? Why do I constantly have to go over when I have time in the gyms and tell people why not to use that piece of equipment, which is an episode we have out there. Why not to use certain things? But this is why we use things. There's no reason why to use that piece of equipment. There's many other pieces of equipment that get the goals that you're trying to get with that piece.
There we go.
You're not asking the right questions, and that's another episode.
We're not asking the right question. We're not understanding specifically what that piece of equipment's the best for, the capacity in which we should be using it, and then how we kind of brought this episode together, which is if it makes us prone to injury, muscle strains, any type of things like that, that's something we need to just write off the list. And unfortunately, that piece of equipment that Jay just brought up is typically one that we're going to end up getting a lot of people doing it wrong, and then we're prone to injury and stuff like that.
Yeah, and a lot of you that train with Bobby or myself that are listening, or people that haven't had a trainer before, the biggest thing that we get is, well, you're just throwing random stuff at me. No, if you really break it down, you hired us to do our job, and we're giving variety of equipment so we can get the most out of that body that
Perfect.
we're trying, and the goals that you asked for. So when you're asking for more mobility, when we're throwing funky stuff at you all the time, and Bobby moves from a piece of a cable equipment in his gym to a dumbbell to on the Bosu ball, all in one little circuit, meaning 3 different movements in a row with 3 different pieces of equipment. He's trying to get more mobility out of you.
Yeah.
So you're ready for anything that life throws at you.
And typically we'll see the amount of weight we're using for that exercise. Like I mentioned a minute ago, we'll see the weights that we're able to use change drastically, or we might select to start with one that's going to require more balance and then evolve into those modalities that we can then apply heavier weights to and challenge you a little bit deeper muscularly. So that's it. That's the best part, is it might look kind of random. We want that variation in the types of equipment we're using because they all have their place.
Yep. And the last part, the last phase of this conversation is work your weaknesses first. Find the pieces of equipment that are going to work your weaknesses first. Now, Bobby has a lot of weaknesses. One is just showing up.
Just showing up.
Just
That's
showing
right.
up. Now, I got
Yep.
some weaknesses. Half the time I can't touch my toes, and a lot of us tend to work on their strengths. Okay, unless you're an athlete in a specific sport, you need to work on those weaknesses. And the good athletes work on their weaknesses.
Heck yeah, they do.
We can name Olympic. I can name Michael Phelps from swimming. He worked on his weaknesses. He added more strength training into his swimming approaches when he was on his Olympic run. LeBron James is known. Tom Brady is a genius with his nutrition and his off-season conditioning. They work on their weaknesses. So why don't the average Joes work on their weaknesses more and understand the equipment that's going to help you do that?
And that's it too. It's feeling good, feeling well-rounded is going to be more rewarding than just, okay, I like having a big chest and going to the beach, so I'm just going to do my bench press, 3 days out of the week because I'm familiar with it. I think I'm good at it, and I think it's making me look good. So I'm just going to keep doing that because I think I'm fine, right? And then it's no, we got to work the lower body. You got to get the hips and legs cooking. You got to get that core dialed in a little bit. It's that keep everything in one piece. You're going to feel better, and you're going to look a heck of a lot better when we're not looking all lopsided and weird and funky.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't want to work their weaknesses because it's hard, it's challenging. And I'm one of those people.
It's uncomfortable, right? It's that we got to hit the ego, we got to pull back on the ego, drop the weights down typically on some of these exercises.
Yep. I'd be happy to go over to the bench press, the squat rack, the dumbbell, and do all that stuff. But my weaknesses are my endurance, my long endurance, and my flexibility. So I need to stretch more. I'm getting on that piece of equipment that I need is that yoga mat
There you
first.
go. Yep.
So just like you teach your kids, eat your vegetables before you eat your dessert, do your weaknesses first, and you find yourself a lot stronger for those other things that you're already strong at.
Perfect. Love it. Yeah. And that's a great strategy right there. Work on those weaknesses first. Get those things moving when you have the most energy to do them. A lot of times it's things that require the stability, the core strengthening. And so we want to kind of tap into those first anyway before they're kind of getting cooked with some other movements. So we can really prioritize with those areas that need the most work when we're freshest.
Yeah. So, Bobby, what are some of the weaknesses you got? We haven't brought up anything. I mean, we can name 99 of them right now, but let's name one.
I mean, I think because just generally I'm so weak that everything's evenly weak. No, I mean, I stay really conscious of, making sure that I'm keeping good posture. Luckily, the sport that I enjoy participating in the most really focuses on back strengthening, right? Because there's so much pulling and grappling that I don't have the same thing that the strikers do where it's constantly pushing out front. I'm constantly trying to pull people and toss them over the top of me. So, tying in legs with the core, of course, I get the leg strength up, I get the upper body strength up. To apply that athletically, if my core is weak, it doesn't matter how strong my top or bottom half are. If I'm jelly in the middle, I'm not really going to be functioning. So
that piece of that one piece of equipment that you're using for your weaknesses is going to be that cable crossover, right? A lot of that stuff.
That's going to be some cables, things that can pull me sideways, right? That dumbbell only ever pulls straight down. So that's where, cables start to work me kind of side to side. That line of tension is, of course, totally different, completely variable versus that dumbbell or any other type of free weight. Yeah. And so those are the things that I try to use consciously to think, I've got the strength in the top and bottom. I got to keep that middle dialed in too. And that's a good point. That's something that's slipped because I've been off the mat since the beginning of the year. And so, that's something that I'm really going to be getting dial back in once I get back into.
But you're going to be
into
working on
grappling
those
sports.
weekends, so you're
We're
going to
be working on it.
So
that's going to be the thing, getting the hardest amount of work when I get back in there for sure.
That's the piece of equipment you're going to focus on. So
Most
that's
important.
what we need you to do.
Yep.
We need you to focus on your weaknesses first. Find out one piece of equipment that's going to get your weaknesses going. Then go to your strengths.
Then
I
go,
promise
yep.
You'll find your workouts more enjoyable. You'll find working out, period, more enjoyable. If you already don't like working out, we know plenty of you out there that don't like working out.
Yep.
That's probably why you're listening to this. Hopefully we give you that magic blue pill. Guess what? There's that one piece of equipment that you're going to have to use. And Bobby's going to recap all of them right now.
Dumbbells, treadmill, yoga mat, let's see, resistance bands, lifting shoe. That's it. All of it.
All of it.
Everything that doesn't create any damage or injury, put it on the map, starting with the things you don't like or you're less familiar with so you can develop those good habits and let that just power you into a whole nother level of strength, athleticism, posture. You'll be standing taller, looking more confident, and that's just going to radiate outside of the gym as well.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone, for listening to today's episode. Make sure you give us a 5-star review. And remember, if it was easy, be cheesy.
Be cheesy, people. Talk to you soon.